Hey there everyone! So today I'm going to show you how to make this really cool DIY book sleeve. I love it so much, so let's get started. So first I'm going to go ahead and measure the book that I want to make the sleeve for. You can make one that is kind of universal, but if you did want to make a book sleeve for a certain book, maybe you want to have a small one for smaller books or a bigger one for bigger books and then a medium-sized one, that's completely up to you. I'm going to show you one, I'm going to show you how to customize it to however you like. So here I had two books. I chose this one and I'm just taking the measurements. I realized that this size book was the average size that I had in my book stash. So that's why I decided to take this one. So I took the width, it was 5.5 inches. I'm adding 2 inches for the edges, so it's going to be 1 inch on one edge and another inch on another edge, so that's 2. And that equals 7.5. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch of seam allowance because I'm going to use a 1/2 inch of seam allowance on each side. You can do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, whatever is good for you. My total for that was 8.5. And that was for the width of the book. For the length of the book, I took the length, which was 8.5, plus 2 for the edges, and then 1 for the seam allowance as well, and that equals 11.5 inches. So here I have some fusible foam. This is about 1/4 inch thick, and it is fusible because on one side it has sort of a rough side, and that is where the glue is. So I have seen tutorials and kind of on Pinterest people spray adhesive onto the foam to stick it onto the fabric, but I feel like fusible foam is just much easier and it's also safer for the fabric because it's already in the foam and it's meant to be used for fabric. So here I have my piece of foam. I have 2 of these pieces cut out to the length and the width from our measurements that we got earlier. And I just wanted to show you the fabric that I'm using. This is such a cute fabric. I've had it for so long and I just had not used it until this tutorial, so I'm so excited. It is a sort of like a vintagey Disney posters fabric and it's just so cute. So here you can see that I have 2 of my fabric pieces cut out the same size as the foam. I put the glue side of the foam up and then the wrong side of the fabric down onto the foam, and I'm just ironing this on. I first start out with kind of just stamping the iron on instead of gliding it over, and then once I stamped all over the fabric, then I can go ahead and glide. This just makes sure that you're not warping the fabric at first, and I like to do it this way the best. So I did that with both of my foam pieces. So here we have our 2 pieces, and now we are going to go ahead and work on the lining. So you don't have to use a lining if you don't want to, but I'm going to use a lining because I feel like it looks more professional and also just a lot cuter, and it actually makes the cleaning process, if you are going to wash this, a lot easier. So I have 2 pieces of purple fabric. This is just a piece of purple cotton fabric, so it doesn't really have a wrong or right, but if you are using a pattern fabric, then basically you want to do the right sides together like this. And you're going to go ahead and sew the top part of each piece just like this. So this is one part, and then of course the other one looks exactly the same. So for my foam, I'm going to cut the top at an angle. I'm making sure not to cut the actual sewing thing that we did. You just want to cut the foam piece at an angle because when we fold the lining inside, it's just going to look weird. So I'm putting these 2 pieces, I'm laying them out nice and flat, and you want to put the right sides together. I'm leaving a gap at this is the bottom of the lining, but right now it looks like the top, so I'm just going to say the top. I'm leaving a gap on the top of the lining, and then I'm going to sew all the way around. So it's going to look like this. I'm taking my scissors and I'm going to cut the corners off each side, and this just helps so that when we turn this inside out, it's going to go ahead and lay down nice and flat, especially in the corners, because the corners are always just very bulky, and especially because we're using foam, if we don't cut it, it's just going to be a lot bulkier, so that's why we cut the corners off. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn this inside out. You just want to put your hand through that space that we left open and pull it out. I'm taking my scissors, and I'm not, like, I have them shut. I just need a blunt edge to pop the corners out of the foam piece as well as from the lining. The lining is super easy because it's thin fabric, so you could just use that, use your fingers for that. And here I did a top stitch to sew the hole that was left in the lining. You can do like a seamless stitch. I completely blinked out and I forgot what it's called, but nobody's gonna see this because it's gonna be on the inside, so I just did a top stitch. I'm putting the lining inside, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do another top stitch to the top of my book sleeve, and this is gonna help the lining stay in place. If we don't do this, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but if you don't do this, the lining is going to keep popping up, and that's kind of annoying. So this is what my top stitch looks like. It's about 1/4 of an inch from the top, but you can do whatever you want. You can do 1/2 inch or 1 inch. And if you wanted your book sleeve to close, you can add a button or a clasp. But yeah, so once you finish this, this is the end of the tutorial. I hope you like this video. I love this so much. I filmed this video about a month ago, so I've been using my book sleeve for about a month, and it just saved so many of my books because I used to put my books inside my purse or my backpack, and the cover would just be all warped and torn and bent, and the pages as well. So this really does protect my book, and I love it because it's Disney. So yeah, please make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!